The documentary film Survival of Spaceship Earth, released in 1972, was the concept for an entire shift of civilization.
Program of action that is really without precedent.
To fall on its own sword and blame itself for the benefit of a handful of elites.
Growth within acceptable environmental limits.
And set the stage for the 1972 United Nations Earth Summit and UN programs of the future.
Now, for the first time in the history of man, an international movement is underway. This building and the world's representatives hold the solution.
Financed by and starring John D. Rockefeller III.
President Nixon established the Commission on Population Growth. The chairman is John D. Rockefeller III.
The nation should welcome and plan for a stabilized population.
It was the new era of population control and eugenics.
We should invite fewer people to be born.
Using resources as the primary basis for human restriction.
Control of the technological enterprise is just as important as control of population.
It took advantage of numerous bought-out Hollywood actors and personalities, including a Golden Girl.
Bunched together like that, and I missed it.
An objective newsman.
An ultimate loyalty and devotion to our single, beautiful, vulnerable planet.
And TV detective Perry Mason. Written by John P. Holdren, later to become Obama's Science Czar.
In 1973, you encouraged a, quote, decline in fertility.
I no longer think it's productive, Senator, to focus on the optimum population for the United States.
People on every continent, all facing disaster if we don't find a solution for the population explosion that now threatens the world.
It worked in concert with the 1968 population bomb propaganda.
The basic cause of the problem is people.
The basic cause of the problem is people. The basic cause of the problem is people.
It also featured Maurice Strong, putting a Rockefeller Foundation trustee in the position to demand a new deal with the entire planet.
Those countries which have produced wealth because of strong material drives, increasing of production and consumption, are simply going to have to reorient some of their own growth patterns. And they give us a completely new set of reasons. To continue along this pathway could lead to the end of our civilization.
Under Agenda 21, where corporations can make mad bank.
Agenda 21, Mr. President, distinguished delegates, establishes for the first time a framework to effect the transition to sustainable development.
And bankers can net profits from greenwashing guilt.
When we, the rich nations, are giving in perfectly formal, institutionalized tax assistance, at least 1% of our gross national product in development capital for the poorer nations, I would go higher myself. Through progressive taxation, a steady transfer of resources from rich people to poor. And that, I think, is the critical thing on this development environment issue.
With the prelude of things to come under carbon taxes and climate change rhetoric that will make your ears scream.
The inescapable fact is that man can exist only in his biosphere.
Population cannot continue to grow indefinitely. Nobody questions that. This is the other part of the population problem. The fact that every child born in the developed country consumes 20 to 30 times the resources.
If only they control the supply of energy.
I personally feel that one of the most important incentives that we can have is to increase the price of energy. If the cost of energy were doubled, people would think about it more.
And place the blame, even for breathing Earth's air, on the peoples of the globe.
One of the very most important studies of the next 2 or 3 decades will be the study of heat pollution to the atmosphere by man's activities, what that actually does or will do to the climate.
Less is more, apparently, for the captains of Spaceship Earth, fueled by false information on peak oil, overpopulation, and the limits to growth.
Millions of people now realize for the first time that there are limits to growth, and that the planet is limited to what it can do and to the number of people it can serve.
Elite captain planets of the world's most controlling regime are curtailing who can have babies, who can pursue development, and ultimately who can be free and prosperous.
Only through international cooperation can we hope to correct the crisis facing all mankind.
Nationalistic loyalties must become secondary to our allegiance to Earth. Secondary to our allegiance to Earth.
Though it is pure propaganda, the survival of Spaceship Earth is supposed to be at the expense of you.
Is it not the time now to cure the disease that we ourselves have created?
Now you know.
The answer is in our own hands, in your hands.